I didn't have a clue where my boyfriend went. When I woke up, he wasn't there. He was 12 when he killed his mother and sister. He was 15 when he finally confessed to the murders. She says she saw something on the night sky that night that terrified her to death. But she only has vague memories of that night, and no way to explain what she saw. They say the first kiss can make the first love last forever. But the kiss that finally broke my heart wasn't from a stranger. It was from my own sister. When I returned from the war, the hospital where I'd been kept was completely destroyed. I didn't realize that they'd left the rest of me, including my head, in the morgue. The knife slipped, the skin fell out, my hand shaking with grief. There was no time for me to scream. There was only time for me to bleed. Last night, I went to sleep feeling so peaceful, as I slept surrounded by angels and saints. But when I woke up, I found myself in a church, surrounded by a horde of demons. A couple weeks ago, my boyfriend and I made a pact that if I ever go to sleep without him, I'll never speak of it again. I woke up tonight gasping for air to the sound of my own voice calling out for me. After the first bite of my sandwich, I asked the server to take me to my table. As I turned to leave, I noticed him watching me intently, his eyes blazing with hatred. I've been hearing a voice for weeks. I live alone. I've been having a lot of difficulty sleeping lately, and I think I know why. My kids ask me all the time if they can play with the angels in my house. I think they're kidding, but they keep on coming. Her husband had told her he'd bought a new pair of sneakers for her, but she'd been wearing them since he died. Now the bloodstains on her sneakers were too obvious to ignore, and she knew he'd regretted the gift even if he could have bought new ones. Her car screeched to a halt just a few feet from where my daughter lay dead on the pavement. As I watched, the car sped away. His head throbbed, pulsing and contorting in a desperate attempt to keep his consciousness from slipping away. He wished his attackers would leave him alone for just a moment. I thought I'd found the body of my son, I mumbled, glancing at my watch. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw him, his headless body hanging from the rafters. Every morning I hear my daughter scream, "Don't go into the basement, Mommy. I'm scared of ghosts." But every night I'm scared too, until she's buried under the rubble. Every single day I wake up to the sound of my pet cat purring. I live alone. Grandma always told me not to play with my food, but I still manage to do it every now and then. What was that horrible grinding noise coming from under my bed? Grandpa told me to get in the oven to make dinner. I shut the curtains, knowing he won't be happy until he's cooked dinner for himself. My husband said it was only a matter of time before a predator would find your daughter. I looked up to see him grinning from across the bed. My wife has been screaming at the front door for hours now. She thinks my ex-wife is still at the house. My son told me he could feel the devil inside of me. live alone. My daughter woke me up this morning to tell me that she had a nightmare that her friend Ted was watching her through her bedroom window. I live on the 13th floor. My uncle died giving birth to me. I woke up alone and in the middle of the night to find my missing foot. My aunt has a horrible habit of whispering in my ear when I'm sleeping. She didn't tell me it was a habit, though. It was 3 a.m. and I needed a shower. I went into my bathroom and looked under the mirror and saw my reflection staring back at me. Our last meal at my parents' house was delicious, but my mom died giving birth. I'll have to go back and reorder. Before the snow began to fall, I headed outside to see if there was any sign of life. As the sun began to sink below the horizon, I realized that there was. People just won't stop crying. I can't help but notice how they're all pointing at me. Yesterday, I got an email from a man I barely knew. He said he had found my body on the internet. Today, I saw my 3-year-old daughter play for the first time in 3 years. The look in her eyes as she saw me was pure terror. In my teenage years, I played a lot of video games. Sometimes I lost. Why do the birds always sing in the night? Why does my refrigerator always seem empty?